Hello, Shamara. Oh, I like your lucky sweatshirt you got there. That's cute. Does it have your name on it?
It says Shamrocks, which is
Oh, I wasn't sure if it had your name on it, but that's like, it's close, right? It could be like a nickname.
it is a
It's cute. I like it.
warm. I'm trying to be warm.
Yes. Yeah, it's been cold lately. Oh, well, you look cute and it looks real cozy.
I'm very comfortable, probably too comfortable.
That's all right. You can relax
Oh
and
wait, you
like
gotta see though, because it's like a
read it.
whole thing. It's like a whole jumper.
Oh, that's amazing.
So
Like a
pretty.
blanket you can just wear around everywhere you go. I love it.
My husband gets me apparently.
Oh, that's great. Also, as a gift he got you. That's really cool. And hey, if it gives you a little bit of luck at the same time, that's great too. So, as we dive in today, do you have any ideas for what kind of characters you'd like to look at?
Thought maybe we could do fear today. I was
Sure, yes, absolutely. Yeah, we had reflected a little bit last time on some ones we hadn't looked at yet, and what types of emotions we might want to, dive into this week. So, yeah, I like it. So, what are some different types of fear? Like, what would be some words that are synonymous but with fear, but maybe like a little bit of a different nuance? So, maybe like
anxiety or
anxiety, that's one. You could have like dread, a feeling of dread. You could have um,
scared.
terror,
Yeah.
unease. It could be panic. It could be like a sense of apprehension. Um, it could be maybe paranoia could be one, or like just feeling worried. So I feel like there are a lot of different types of fear as well. It's not, it always like a huge, intense, like paralyzing fear. It could just be like a sense of like foreboding or like a little bit of tension or even like nervousness. So I like to kind of explore the different nuances of it. So what would be some situations that might cause someone to feel some of those fearful feelings?
I don't know, being deported. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, that's legit. I mean, that's a big one.
Now, yeah.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, that's huge. Feeling like, you've got a home somewhere, feeling like maybe you have
Mhm.
safety somewhere, and feeling like, oh, I might be forced to leave. I mean, that's a huge thing that you could be afraid of. And having to leave family, having to leave, um, people that you love, community, friends. Maybe you have, work and a home and all these different things. So that would be a really big one. Um, what would be maybe,
Job,
what was that?
maybe you lose your job.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, because that's your, livelihood. That's how you take care of yourself, how you take care of your loved ones. So losing your job, that's another big one. Um, What about
Scary
maybe something a little bit smaller, like being
monster.
nervous about a test, maybe like your driver's test or something, um, or a job interview, right? I mean, that could be kind of intense too.
About monsters.
Monsters, yeah, for sure. Or even like unknown. Maybe you're like hiking and the sun starts to go down. You haven't made it back to where you're headed yet, and it's dark, and you hear some like crunching and you don't know what it is. That could be kind of scary, like that feeling of the unknown. Um, so yeah, I feel like, it can be something that's like really, really intense. Like we think of like a horror movie kind of level intense. It can be something that's like someone you love is sick and in the hospital. It could be something like you have a review coming up at work and you're like, oh, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like I feel like maybe I haven't been, doing my best here lately, or, maybe they won't like what I did for that project recently. Um, so those kind of things even can have a little bit of that fear factor. So yeah, let's see. Okay, so this one I found is more like a like horror film kind of vibe. So it's like somebody knocked on the door, or you're like hearing something that sounds like a knock on the door, and you like don't know what's gonna happen. Um, so it has that kind of like scary movie vibes to it. Um, so yeah, I feel like there was a knock at the door, and then you say this, it's like, what's happening? Like, I think I locked it. Maybe it's just the wind. What if someone's watching me through the window? So that, you never know. Maybe you were just watching like on the news about like somebody doing like baby crying sounds on the porch, and then like women being abducted or something. And then you're like, oh my gosh, what if they're here? And and you hear the knock and you're like, oh no. Even if it's just like kids playing a prank, it could still be like, oh gosh, they could be throwing eggs at my car.
Yeah.
The
It,
unknown factors. That this is more like scary movie vibes to me, um, of what's going on out there. So,
hey. All right. Go for it. Okay. I locked the door. I know I did. I checked it twice. No, three times. And yet, there it is. That sound, that terrible, patient sound. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe it's the wind rattling the frame. But no, no. My heart knew before my mind did. Someone is there, waiting, watching. Why don't they speak? If it were someone I knew, they'd call my name, but they just stand there. Or maybe they're not standing. Maybe they're crouched, pressed against the door, listening for me the way I'm listening for them. I should move. I should run. Where?
okay, yeah, that it's like, I'm sure there's like ominous music playing, and there's a storm outside. It was a dark and stormy night. Da, da, da. So what are some of the things we usually hear and see, like for a scary movie, setting up that sense of dread and building that tension? I feel like there's a little more space because we kind of want them to wonder and sit there and be like in that anticipatory feeling. So that space, give it room to breathe a little bit so that we're like, what's going to happen? Right. And I feel like the pacing too, there are going to be moments where it can be really slow, but then having really sharp shifts, like it's dragging out like this, and then suddenly it's faster. That's something that they'll do to kind of heighten the intensity. Um, and I think also thinking a little bit about what words to really lean into and like meanings, like I know I did. And then like uh maybe like when you hear the sound, like it's a sound that clearly is scaring you. So like sounding scared and like that sound, and that terrible, like make sure that the meaning kind of comes across there. When you say like, oh, maybe I imagined it, like brushing it off a little bit more, I think the contrast there. So playing with the contrast, the pacing, let it have those pauses. I think the pauses are going to make a huge difference. Like really observe like the dots and the dashes, and um, let it breathe a little bit more. Yeah. All right, let's try it again.
Okay. I locked the door. I know. I checked it twice. No, three times. And yet, there it is. That sound. That terrible patient sound. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe it's just the wind rattling the frame. But no, no, my heart knew before my mind did. Someone is there, waiting, watching. Why don't they
Yeah.
speak? I don't know. Stop now. Stop now.
Yeah, that was really good. I feel like if I was doing it, it would feel kind of cheesy on that, like, my heart knew before my mind did. Like, that feels almost like a book, you know?
Yeah, it does.
Um, but I feel like we have to find a way to say it where it lands. Like, I just feel it. I just know it. Like, I can sense it. I like,
Conviction.
yeah, with like a little more conviction, like, you know, before I even heard that, I knew I like could feel that something was about to go wrong. Like I knew that something was off, like, the full moon or whatever, like the atmospheric pressure, I could feel it. So with a little more conviction there, and it's like, I know someone is there. Someone is watching me right now through the windows, and I'm not crazy. It's real. Right? So like maybe like trying to convince yourself, that's like, I'm not crazy. This is real. Someone is out there. So like you were saying, like with conviction, having it be like a little more solid as you say that, yeah. So maybe we could back up to like maybe I imagined it. So maybe at first you're just like, ah, maybe I imagined it. I'm being silly, but then you're like, no, no, someone is there. Like maybe you hear another sound and you're like, see, I'm not imagining it. It's real. Yeah. So, a little more confidence in that statement.
Okay. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe it's just the wind rattling the frame. But no, no, my heart knew before my mind did. Someone is there, waiting, watching. Why don't they speak? If it were someone I knew, they'd call my name, but they just stand there. Or maybe they're not standing, maybe they're crouched, pressed against the door, listening for me the way I'm listening for them. I should move. I should run. But where?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like too, it almost sounds like there's someone else in the room with you, or like maybe a pet. Like, you're talking to your cat and you're just like, why aren't they speaking? You know, if they knew me, they'd say something. Maybe they're feeling the same way I am. Maybe they're, listening for me like I'm listening for them. Maybe I should move. Maybe I should just run. But where would I go? Like maybe you're in a cabin in the woods or something. You like decided to take like you and your dog and go by yourself for the weekend. And now there's a big storm and you're like, I don't know what to do or where to go. And the roads are washed out and I'm trapped up here. And you could be struggling, like maybe it's like a hiker who got lost and they just need like help, but like I'm scared. I don't want to open the door. What if they're an axe murderer, you know? So it's like giving yourself a scenario that makes it feel a little more like it could be real, I think helps. Um, but I mean, I feel like I would be nervous if I was, all alone in the middle of nowhere and I'd be like, I think I heard a knock, but I don't know if I want to open that door, you know?
Do you think somebody's just standing there? Like, that's freaky. Yeah.
That is freaky. Yeah, I'd be like, is there a bat around here? Like, can
Maybe
I like
not.
hold it while I peek? Yeah. So, yeah, I think it has to have that conviction because otherwise it sounds cheesy and silly, But when you say it with that confidence and that strength in it, like, someone is there waiting, watching. Why don't they speak? Right? Like if you say it a little more sure of yourself, then it doesn't feel so silly. It feels more like, oh gosh, like, you probably did hear something and there probably is someone there and you don't know them. Like they're a stranger. Help might not be around for miles. So, yeah, I feel like having that conviction is really helpful there. Okay, so I found another that's a little bit vague. So we just have to kind of guess what's happening. But you say no 4 times in a row. Whenever I say the same thing again and again and again, I try to change the way I say it each time. Like building an intensity is one way you can do it. Like, no, 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 right? Or it can be like, no. No, no, no. Or it could be like, no, 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 no. Right? So just as long as you like change it, it's not like just like no, 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 no. Like where it's the same every time. That doesn't usually like have as much momentum. So changing each time, like there's a reason you say it that many times. Um, and they do put a period after the first one, and then they have commas. So I feel like you could do like a no, 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 no. Like you could string them together, which is kind of the way it's written out. And then it's like a suspension of belief. You're in this like denial phase, is kind of where it's at. You're just like, this can't be happening. This is not real life. And then you're like pleading, like, please let this just be a bad dream. Right. So we don't know exactly what's happening. Um, you could be on the way somewhere really important, like your wedding and your car breaks down and you're like, oh gosh, what do I do? Or you could be on the way to a really, really important business meeting and
Spilt coffee all over your shirt.
there you go. And you're just
Coffee
like,
creamer.
oh no. And you don't have another. And you're like, ah, what do I do? It's too late to buy a new one or go home or yeah, like um so having something that's happened that you're very upset about and clearly you go through like phases of grief here very quickly. So let's try this one and kind of see what you can come up with there.
No, 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 no. This isn't happening. This can't be happening. Please, please just let me wake up. Let this be a dream, a nightmare.
Yes, good. Yeah. Yeah, I really bought it. I was like, "Oh, okay." Like I was so in it that I was like, "Oh, it's over." Like I was really like absorbed in what was happening. I was like feeling it for you. So that worked really beautifully. So what was your scenario that you gave yourself?
Um, I'm gonna be honest. I was like listening to I was trying to listen to what you said, pay attention
Yeah.
to punctuation, and I really didn't have like a real scenario in my mind like I probably should have. I was still thinking about the coffee on the shirt because that actually happened to me.
Oh,
That
that's
was
why you were so good at it. You were like, this has actually happened in my real life.
yeah. I need a new coffee cup because the lid keeps just bumping.
Oh, yes. Oh, wow. Yeah, that you're like,
Still for me.
I can unfortunately relate to this.
Yes, I can. Yes.
Wow, yes. So then, okay. So then, yeah, I really liked it. I honestly like, I don't really have much to, give you because I liked it so much. Like I was like, that worked beautifully. Like I was totally convinced. Totally. I was like, oh, this poor woman. I hope that she, gets help for whatever's happening. So yeah, I loved it. It was great. It worked great. Let's take a look at this one. So this is one, it's a little more heartbreaking. Because it seems like there's somebody who like maybe is in a coma that you care about. Um, or it could be like you're at a funeral saying goodbye to someone, like you're at a showing. Um, and you like, or you like go talk to their grave or something. So I feel like, it's something pretty darn serious, and it's like either someone's very, very ill in a coma or they've passed away. Um, and you being like, I don't know how to live without you, or I don't know how to do this without you, kind of a thing. So let's take a look at this one. You're gonna choose your, situation, who you're talking to, where you are, how you feel about them, and like what it is that you really want or need in this moment.
Hmm. I keep telling myself, you're going to wake up any second now. You'll open your eyes. You'll look at me like I'm being dramatic. You'll smirk and say, you worry too much. But you're not waking up. And I don't know what to do.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, this one it's a lot more like quiet and intimate, and to me like is just as powerful and intense and fearful, but it's expressed in such a quieter way. Um, because it like to me it's like a fear that you don't like you're so scared you can't even like vocalize it, kind of a thing. That and there's like sadness mixed into it as well. Like this might be the end, and that fear, being like I might lose this person, and grieving that, already being grieving that at that point. So if you were gonna maybe give yourself like something different, I think one thing that might be kind of sweet would be like when thinking about how they would react to your worry, like I might like chuckle a little bit, or like, oh, you'll smirk and you'll say, you worry too much, but then like going back to being heartbroken, but like that kind of like fondness of them, and like, I know you're gonna just, you know, tell me I worry too much. Tell me like, of course you were, of course I was gonna get better. And you're gonna say I'm silly, we're being too dramatic, but there's also that chance that I'm not, you know? So I think it could be kind of like a sweet moment, to think of them and have it be like you're a little bit happier because you're like, you always say, like I'm a worrywart and I make too much of things, Well, I say that you take things too lightly and you just think everything's fun and games. Well, sometimes it's not. So, yeah, yeah. So what do you think of that there?
No, I tried to convey that, but clearly I must not have, you know, it's, I got to get my act together.
Oh,
Because I was thinking, everything is very kind of scary or a little bit sad, and then
yeah.
like trying to think like jokingly, this is what this person would be saying.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like I said, I think I need to just be maybe a little bit more dramatic and a little bit,
Like a little more like shifts
yeah,
in what's happening,
contrasting. Yeah.
because I don't know that you have to be like louder or like bigger at all. Um, I think it's more of just like you have an opportunity there to have kind of a shift. So I feel like you could, start it being like, maybe you could be like a little more determined, like, I keep telling myself, like, trying to convince yourself a little bit, like, it's gonna be okay. You're gonna wake up. You're gonna be fine. But then you like think of what they would say, and you're like, you would just smirk and you'd like tease me a little bit, but then like really deeply saddened and like, but you really might not. And that's devastating and I don't know what to do. And I feel like that feeling of helplessness, powerlessness, leaning into that a little bit more. Because at the end, saying like, you're not waking up. I don't know what to do. I'm like sitting here feeling totally helpless. Um, so I think playing that up a little bit more. Yeah. Can we try that?
I keep telling myself you're going to wake up. And any second now, you'll open your eyes and you'll look at me like I'm being dramatic. You'll smirk and say, "You worry too much." But you're not waking up. And I, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like for the voiceover aspect too, I feel like you could even like crack a little bit, like I don't like or wobble a little bit, like I I don't know what to do. Like having it have a little bit like you could breathe in an awkward place, like so it feels a little more like you're choking up a little bit, like trying not to cry. Um, you could do something like that. You know how they have like the and I don't know what to do. You could do like a gaspy sound there, like, but you're not waking up. And I don't know what to do. Like you can make it a little more like, like a little more of that. Um, like you're starting to choke up and you're like trying not to cry, but you can't really stop yourself. So I think that could be something you could add is that kind of like awkward gaspy breath through that last little chunk there. So can we try it again?
Sure. I keep telling myself you're gonna wake up. Any second now, you'll open your eyes and look at me like I'm being dramatic. You'll smirk and say, "You worry too much." But you're not waking up. And I I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, you feel the difference there. It
Yeah.
just like has such a sudden change that's like, whoa, like it just is so abrupt that it like I feel like it really like it genuinely makes me be like, "Oh my gosh," like stab you in the heart kind of a feeling. Really nice. Good. Okay, so then let's see. I really liked it. Is there anything else that you would want to change about it? Or like any insights you have, like a certain thing you really liked about it. Because I thought that was great. So if you're liking it, I say let's try another. Um, so this one it feels to me like maybe you're somebody who like just turned 50 and you've been in advertising and you're like, it's a young person's game. And what if I'm just too old? I mean, they're talking about this thing called like twittering and like I don't know what that is, you know? You know what I mean? Like or maybe I guess
Right.
now it would be like TikTok or something even newer, like threads on Instagram or something. And you're just like, I don't even know what that is. What's Riz? Like these words that they're using. And you're feeling like it seems to me like you're feeling kind of obsolete. That it's like that fear of I'm not needed anymore, or like what I have to offer isn't relevant anymore. Um, yeah, like it seems like you're just kind of having that self-doubt and kind of like a crisis of self in this. Um, so yeah, so kind of thinking about, I mean, you could be interviewing for jobs. It could be like you really want a promotion, but you're worried you're going to be overlooked. It could be something like feeling like you don't even know what your value is and like should I just resign? Should I retire early? Like I feel like there are a few different things you could do with it. So what do you think there?
No, I mean, I think I I feel like this sometimes. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
I think just about everyone has those like imposter syndrome feelings at
totally.
some point or another. I had a friend actually like just yesterday that was like just like give it to me straight. Like tell me the truth. What do you think? And I was like, I think the things you're feeling are totally normal, and here's what I think of you and what I see, in my genuine, honest opinion. And they were like, oh my gosh, I so needed to hear that right now. They were like, I just have been feeling just like so crummy lately. And so yeah, like I feel like it's a really common thing that we get that kind of imposter syndrome, like, what am I doing? And do I really belong here? And those kind of things. So, yeah. So, so you kind of feel like you can relate to this a little bit. So I say, let's just try it. Let's just dive in and try it.
What if this is it? What if I'm just gotten? What if I'm too old, too inexperienced, too something? What if I don't have the right skills? What if there are too many others who want the same job and they're better than me?
Oh. Oh, the way you said that, like, and they're better than me. Oh, it was like pouty, but also like, oh, like I just genuinely felt so bad for you. It's like a little kid pouting that you just want to like wrap up in a hug and be like, pet their head and be like, it's gonna be okay, you know? Um, yeah, like. And when you said like the same job, like that frustration was so transparent. Um, yeah, and like I feel like I definitely could feel the intensity building as it was like, too old, too inexperienced, too something, And I feel like as women in particular, we often feel like I'm too much, but I'm also too little. Like, and it's that feeling like even in the Barbie movie, like that monologue that America Ferrera, yes, has where she's just like, you can't win because it's this and this and this. Like that's kind of what this monologue feels like to me too. Like no matter what I do, I am never enough. But I really like that it kind of like ramps up and builds to that point of like the same job, but then it's like that, and they're better than me. Like, and that like you're admitting it. You're like, I see it. They are. And it's like really cute and sweet, but also really sad. Um, so what did you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I felt like I could really relate to this one, in certain ways, and so I just felt, yeah, I just tried to think about it like,
Yeah. Nice. Good. So then if you were maybe going to give yourself like one comment that you feel like could take it even further, what do you think that might be? Do you have any ideas of like how you could just tweak it a little bit, like something slightly changed?
well, I was thinking about this just with because I feel like I feel this way with each one is the
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason I feel like my first sentence or the first question or the first whatever
Mm.
I see like a rhythm in or a pattern that I'm doing it the kind of the same way. Like I'm just like not enough
Ah.
variety. So it's like I need
Yeah, the
to
opening is the same.
yeah. So I
Mm-hmm.
need to work on changing it up a bit, or I could
Yeah.
be boring or pigeonholed or yeah.
Yeah. So I had two thoughts.
Okay.
One is that with that opening question, it is genuinely a question. You're asking questions the entire time. So I say, like, ask it like you're really waiting for an answer. Like, what if this is it? And you like wait and like look to them to like see if they're going to answer. And then you're like, okay, you're not answering. So let me clarify. Like, what if I'm forgotten? And they still are like not responding. And you're like, what if I'm too old? Like maybe like trying to clarify because it's like maybe you don't understand. So like this and this and this. Like giving more information to help them give you the answer. And I think also thinking of a specific person you could be talking to, like, a sister, a husband, a mom, a grandparent. Like when I need advice, I a lot of the time will call my grandpa and I'll be like, "Hey, I respect you. I respect your opinion. I know you love me. So like, give me some real life, life experience advice, Gramps." And I'll see what he says, because sometimes he'll be like super supportive. Sometimes he's like, I know you and I feel like this is not for you. Sometimes he'll be really comforting. Sometimes he'll be a little like tough love with me. And I know he'll give me whatever it is that I need to like shove me in the right direction because he knows me well. And so he knows like if I'm just in a weird mood right now or having a little crisis of self, those kind of things. So like picking a person you genuinely would look to in those moments of self-doubt and look to give you that genuine comfort and that reassurance and that clarity. So picturing that person and then truly asking them, so not rhetorical, like really looking to them for an answer. Yeah. All right.
What if this is it? What if I'm just forgotten? What if I'm too old, too inexperienced, too something? What if I don't have the right skills? What if there are too many others who want the same job and they're better than
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I liked that a lot. What did you think of it?
I mean, I was happy to have done something different in the beginning. And it's
Hmm.
like I said, it was just something I noticed I was doing. So thanks for
Yeah.
help tweaking
It
that.
felt very like directed to me. Like not like fake, but directional, I think is what I'm trying to say. Like you had a really clear intention and you were going after something. The time before felt a little like lighter, a little more like it was more rhetorical and just like, hey, I just need to like process this. And this time it felt a little more like earnestly seeking answers. So it just had like a little more intensity to it, I felt like. And it felt a little more maybe grounded,
Yeah.
whereas the other was a little more like
Thinking about
ideas,
it.
you
Yeah,
know?
a little bit more whimsical, like
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think there could be a time and a place for both. So I like having the options, and I also like how you were like I kind of keep doing the same thing as I start. Like the opening's always the same and then it changes as I go, which I think is pretty normal, like that you'll warm up into it. But I really like that you recognized that and you were like, okay, so how do I switch that up and like sort of break myself out of that habit and try something new? Because sometimes you'll find like really pleasant, exciting discoveries that you'll be like, ooh, I liked that. So I really like that. I think that was great. So yeah, I think really good work here. And I really enjoyed, all of these had a very different feel that like scary movie vibe, like haunted Halloween. We had just sort of like a panicky moment in one. Um, we had a really like heartbreaking like sense of loss there. And then we also had that imposter syndrome, like midlife crisis kind of a feel, which I'm like, it is not just a midlife crisis. People of all ages have this. Like, even like elderly people still feel this way. So I feel like it's just a thing through life that we just, every so often, we need someone we love to be like, you're okay. And if we get that, we're like, all right, now I feel better. But it's just like you need that sense of community and that reassurance that yes, you're all right. So yeah, I really like how, we took one theme, fear, and we were able to explore it in so many different ways. It was really beautiful work. And again, like I feel like I say this every time, but I love how open you are and like directable you are. And even like, I don't just have to sit here and spoon feed you and be like, hey, do this, now do this, now do this. I love that you are self-reflective. And then you also look to like, what is my personal experience and what do I have as life experience that can feed into this and help me to understand what this character is going through. So I think that's so beautiful. And it adds just a level of maturity. Like my student Izzy that I worked with right before you today, she is just young. You know, she's in high school and she honestly, she's a blast. She's super fun and she makes big bold choices and things. But like with you, it's just very different because you have life experience that she just doesn't have yet. So she just can't always get as deep as what you can. And she's creative. She comes up with really cool ideas. She takes like character inspirations from different things she's seen and heard. And, so I mean, she's great. She has a lot of really great skills, but it's just that as an actor, there's nothing that can replace life experience. And the more experience you get, the more deep, like a deep well, that it's like you can draw so much deeper. So it's really fun to kind of compare having had her right before you today. She usually is a different day of the week. And then like going straight to your lesson, you both have strengths, but with you, it's just those like insights into life and like raw, real things that like I lost my one of my grandparents at 8, but like my understanding of it was not there. Like I didn't really grasp it. I was like, why has mom been crying for 2 weeks straight? And then like I go to the funeral and I'm just like, I don't know, like everyone acted like it would be traumatic and I was just like, well, he's not there. Like that's not him. Like I just thinking back, like I didn't feel it that deeply. And then thinking of like I lost an aunt last year and how much more I felt that. And like I held my uncle's hand at the funeral and like hugging my cousins and like it's just a totally different experience having that life experience and maturity. And so that's really shining through so beautifully. And I feel like where you started, you were kind of like, I think actually nervous, like that kind of like we didn't know each other yet and just kind of dipping your toes in the water. It was a little like you had a little bit of a shell, like a protective shell. And now I see you being willing to be like, let's peel back those layers. Let's explore that. And it's really, really beautiful to see. So I hope you're enjoying that. I know sometimes it can be kind of like painful or like emotionally, you're like, whew, I feel like a wet rag that just got wrung out or something at the end, but it's really beautiful work. So you can definitely be proud of that.
I very much thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And I didn't see if I think I had texted you, but I won't be able to meet next Tuesday. So if you
Yeah.
wanted to meet another day, we could, or we can just wait till that next Tuesday. So
Can we just
whatever works
wait
for you.
till that next Tuesday?
Okay,
We'll
great.
make
So we'll plan on that. Perfect. So we won't meet next week. I'll see you in 2 weeks and we'll dive back in. All right.
Thank you.
Awesome work, Shamara. Have a great night. Bye.